Okay, let us start with today's class. A little tired of taking history, so today we will take poetry. The poem is called Song of the Flower, and the poet is Khalil Gibran. It's not a very long poem. It's a very inspirational poem. Even those who didn't join this class, when they see the recording, they will benefit from it. And you are the lucky ones. Okay, firstly, let's get the name right. It's not nice if someone spells our name wrong. The correct pronunciation would be Gibran Khalil Gibran. Let's look at the time or the period in which he wrote. Born in January 6th, 1883 and passed away on April 10th, 1931. So from the late 18th to the early 19th century, there was a time in which he wrote. He is of Lebanese American descent. It simply means is that he was born in Lebanon and then he migrated to America. He is famous as not just a writer and a poet, but also an artist and a philosopher. He could paint very well also, and he was very philosophical. That means he had very deep words of wisdom and thoughts which he shared with everyone, including now, which we are studying today in this class. His best known work and is most famous for a book called The Prophet, which was written around 1923. He wrote actually in Arabic, and later on he started to write in English. Remarkable thing about this person is that in spite of so much hardship and struggle in his life, he was not disheartened, and it is reflected in his poetry also. He wrote very positive works, and he painted very well also. So this poem, let us begin now. The first line says, I am a kind word uttered and repeated by the voice of nature. He is speaking on behalf of a flower. In poetry, this is called personification. So that's why he says the word I. The next word, that is a kind word. All of us like to hear kind words, isn't it? So he said a kind word is uttered or spoken and repeated, not just once, but it's repeated by the voice of nature. Now, you can't say that nature doesn't have a voice. That voice is somehow kind, it's soothing. Right now it's raining, isn't it? Can you hear the sound of rain falling maybe on your roof? It's a very soothing sound. At night, if it rains, somehow when they hear the sound of the rain, it puts us to sleep better. Or you can even hear the sound of birds, of the wind, even the sound of river, of water. So these are very kind and soothing words. And he says it's not just said once, but repeated. Repeated means more than once. So as human beings, whether it is a child or a teenager or a grown-up or an adult, it just takes 1 second to say a kind word. And if you repeat it, it's even better. And also it's there in our Bible also as well. If you look at Proverbs 16:24, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. So it's good for health as well. Now I'm not here to preach or give you a sermon, but I'm just repeating the point at which the poet says. The next line says, I am a star fallen from the blue tent upon the green carpet. Now what is going on here? This is another poetic device or a tool used by Khalil Gibran. Using words, he's putting an image or a picture in your mind. You should be able to visualize. A blue tent means the blue sky. Right now I'm putting it on the screen for you. I'm making it easy for you. This could also mean an image using a paint and a brush. Now for students, when we give you a task for drawing, most children will draw this. This is the most common item of drawing, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You all did drawing when you were in class 1 or class 2, even in the KG, the lower primary section. And you would have surely drawn a scenery. And in that scenery, did you draw a red sky or a black sky? Common colors are the most happy colors, and the kind colors are blue and green. So he's using colors also to make us feel positive, to make us identify with the poem. Okay, next thing he says is that I am the daughter of the elements. He's also emphasizing that this flower is a female, that's a daughter. The reason why he's saying is that, in a way, it's giving the importance of women. Unfortunately, in male societies, we tend to look down upon women. We're a little hard to them. It should not be there like that. And for many years, women were not given rights, they were not even allowed to go to school. And he's also making a political statement at that time. When he wrote this, women were not given equal rights. Next, he talks about the seasons. Let's begin with winter. Winter is a conception or the origin of life. Every life, including you and me, we started in some biological form. Now he gives example of winter, and there's the best example is to look at a snowflake. The snowflake is just a small microscopic element of water. And then spring is when the birth takes place. All of us have birthdays. Are you happy in your birthday?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's why we say happy birthday, isn't it? But strangely, when you are first born into the world, you come out crying.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all babies cry, and please, I hope all of you have stopped crying. You're already in class 10 right now. Some of you might still be cry babies, but anyway, when you are born into this world, or when anything gets life and comes into this world, it's a very happy occasion. So this is spring. Spring is a time of happiness. So it is identifying the season also. Okay, summer is next. He says, I was reared in the lap of summer. In many ways, what you are as a student, you are in the summer of your life. You are growing. It's a time where you need to grow. Not just in studies, but also in discipline, in behavior. In many ways, you have to grow. You don't like to decline. And it's very sad, very unfortunate to see many young children going astray and declining. So, and you need to mature also. So should be a happy time and a growing time for you. So this is the meaning of summer. Now the last part talks about autumn. Now autumn is normally in September, October, or November when trees start to shed their leaves or they're taking rest. It doesn't mean that they're dead or they're gone. It means they're just resting. And rest and renewal is very important for any forms of life, including human life. The biological process, maybe you can ask Ma'am Lamnechong or Ma'am Wakim later on, is that when you sleep, when you take rest, all the cells in your body are somehow renewed. New cells are created. So this is the process that is necessary. So here he has very poetically put these seasons: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. So this is the cycle of life. Next point, he says, at dawn I unite with the breeze to announce the coming of light. Now what is going on here? Here it is again personification. I. He is identifying as a person. He is also creating mental images or audio visual images using words. Audio means the sound and visual means what you see with your eyes. So these are the senses. So here he is putting audio and visual images using words. And these words should be very clear in your mind. That is the idea of this poem. It also says at eventide means the evening time. I join the birds in bidding the light farewell. In the evening, it is as if they are saying farewell or good night or good evening until we meet again. Next line, he says the plains are decorated with my beautiful colors and the air is scented with my fragrance. This is a very simple poem and he is putting so many effects. We have the audio, the visual effect. Now we have the olfactory effect. Olfactory means your sense of smell. I think as teenagers, all of you would have put some deodorant or body spray at some point. Now all these origins are in some kind of flower or some kind of fruit. Pleasant smell. He wants you to identify with the sight of the flowers and also the smell of the flowers. These pictures, I didn't want to to get it from the internet. These are actual pictures outside or near the school gate. I took this picture I think last week or a couple of days back, and you can probably see the pigeons in the background. Nowadays, I think the pigeons are attending class, attending school in your place. Okay, so here he has put a visual and olfactory image. Remember this word olfactory, it means your sense of smell. The planes are decorated with my beautiful colors. You should be able to see the colors of the flowers and the air, the scent of the flowers. Also a feeling of sight and smell using words. And this is once again the power of words, especially of kind words. The next part is, as I embrace slumber, the eyes of night watch over me. Here once again, personification I. He puts himself as a child or as a, remember he said, I am the daughter. Now it doesn't mean that daughters and sons are treated differently, but children in general, your parents, literally they, when you were a child, and this is also one way in which you should remember and appreciate your parents, is that they will not rest until the children are sleeping safe and sound, and they watch over them. Literally, when you are a baby, even at night, I'm sure your parents, you can ask your parents how many sleepless nights they have spent. And this again, it's a mental and also an audio visual image. Some of us sleep very soundly, very peacefully, but some of us, including me also, we have the snoring habit. We snore at night, isn't it? We are very noisy. I don't mean to say that here the poet is saying that everyone snores at night, but here it's putting a nice picture using words of people watching over you and keeping you safe even as you sleep. So the eyes of night watch over me. The eyes of night would mean the parents or the guardians watching over you as you sleep, watching, protecting you. In another sense, what he means also is that it's a kind of spiritual awakening. But when you look up at the stars at night, can you count them? No one can really count, uncountable. In the same way, it's a kind of spiritual awakening when you realize that there is something bigger than me, and also tells you that you are under some kind of divine or spiritual protection. By the way, spiritual or the spiritual side of things, as human beings, especially students, we should not neglect. It is a source of energy or power. Right now, light has failed. We could have put off and waited for the light to come back. It could not have come back also. So we have a backup. So spiritual is your backup. It's always there for you. It's like your battery. And you need to, just like a battery, you need to charge it from time to time. So he says once again, as I embrace slumber, the eyes of night watch over me. I am being protected, and also I look forward to some kind of spiritual awakening. Next, he goes on to the morning or the dawn. He says, at dawn, and as I awaken, I stare at the sun, which is the only eye of the day. It is about divine inspiration and spiritual guidance. When we get up in the morning, I see a lot of people. Sometimes when I go for my morning walks, I see a lot of people going to church and praying. What are they doing? They are recharging their batteries. They are looking for guidance. All right, that is very much necessary. You need some kind of energy, and don't neglect the spiritual energy that is there. That's why people keep going back to church. People keep praying. It's not that you pray once, go to church, and that's over. Take it like a battery or a recharge. You need to, the more you recharge. And by the way, you like to keep your battery at 100%, isn't it? We have only one sun in our solar system, and that is somehow keeping us alive. We in this planet are very unique because we are at just the right distance from the sun. So here you have mental images and you have visual images. This is all created during words. And mind you, this is a very spiritual poem. Khalil Gibran was a spiritual person, and he's reminding again and again about the spiritual meaning of life itself. And as I awaken, I stare at the sun, which is the only eye of the day. Don't mind if I'm repeating these words. In the beginning, that's what he wants us to do. Remember what he said? I am a kind word uttered and repeated. When you repeat things, you remember it better. The next part is, he says, I drink too for wine and hearken to the voices of the birds. Here it is a gustatory image. Gustatory is your sense of taste. What poets also visualize is that birds, why they sing in the morning is that they are very thankful. They are very happy and grateful that they got their food in the morning. So you have the full picture of sound, of visual, and of also of taste and of touch. Next word or the next line is, he says, and dance. Literally, the flowers dance to the rhythmic swaying of the grass. All of you will have joined Lencom at some point, isn't it? Do you know
Yes,
how to
sir.
dance? Did you dance last year in Christmas and New Year? When in our society, Lencom is not just the religious thing; it's a cultural thing as well. Dance is a form of happiness. It's expressing happiness. So here it's a celebration. When the celebration, in a way, celebration is not complete without a dance. This year, hopefully, this pandemic will be over and we can have our Lencom this year as well in Christmas and New Year. Let's look forward to that. Let's pray it happens. I am the lover's gift. I am the wedding wreath. Now it's talking about love, wedding, and flowers. It is very much a part of this event. Can you imagine a wedding without flowers?
No, sir.
It's not possible. So it's a way of reminding us and making us feel it's a happy event and to remember everyone who gets married always remember their wedding date. And you might have been to a wedding also. You always remember how happy and how joyful that occasion is. And a wedding is not complete without music, without songs, without the sounds. So here it's a combination of all these senses. And wedding is not complete without food also, isn't it? And most of us, I
Yes,
think,
sir.
we go to this program just to taste the food. And most of us comment also, they didn't cook properly. Oh, it was very well cooked. And some of us also take some of that curry home also in little plastic bags. Anyway, jokes aside, here we're coming back to flowers. And he says, weddings naturally cannot take place without love, without understanding rather. And he says it's a memory of a moment of happiness. The actual function itself is over in, let's say, a few minutes. In Kambopi, it carries on for hours and hours and we get tired of sitting. But that memory
Yes, sir.
lasts for a lifetime. So he said it's a memory of a moment of happiness. And here he's talking about the flower. But also, it's also a part of death. I am the last gift of the living to the dead. Now, regarding death, there's nothing to be, really afraid of as human beings. It is a natural cycle. When our time is up, then we have to depart this world. It doesn't mean that complete end or the full stop. But when we depart this world and go to the next world, it's like we are given a farewell and a last gift, and there is always flowers involved. Yes, it is a sad event and it stays with us for some time and we feel very sad or hurt inside. Khalil Gibran is reminding us that these flowers, it make us feel something and it also make us remember something. And he says, I am a part of joy and also I am a part of sorrow. Now this is part of normal human life. We cannot be happy forever and we cannot be sad forever also. A flower is never neutral. It never sits on the fence. And for us also as human beings, I find many of us sitting on the fence. We are neither here nor there. We should not be that. We should take a stand. I hope that you stand for something good, something positive. So flowers, once again, it makes us feel and it makes us remember. Okay, the last part we're closing now. He says, I look up high to see only the light. Looking up means being positive. Don't be down. Don't be negative. Yes, the whole world is, or let us say, most parts of the world are under lockdown. Many people are suffering. Many people are dying. Many people are getting infected. But look up and see the light. All is not lost. We are still alive. We are still healthy. There's so many things to be positive over. You just have to look up and find it. And he said, I never look down to see my shadow. Is your shadow real? You can see it, but is it real? It's not real, isn't it? There's not you. There's just you blocking the light. So in a way, shadow happens only when you block the light and only when you look for it. And shadow means darkness. Yes, you will find darkness if you look at it. Don't look for it, and it's not real. Darkness is just the absence of light. And darkness gets its power only when we start looking at it. And the last line he says, this is wisdom, which man must learn. Now what is wisdom? I will not give you a very long sermon. I'm not here to preach. I'll just leave you with one thought. Nandina Morris said that don't let the shadows of yesterday spoil the sunshine of tomorrow. Live for today. Now wisdom is actually a gift. That is why it is called the present. So live in the present. And the gift is there. Even someone is offering you a gift. Don't refuse it, just accept it.